I've been asked to speak about the challenges of decent work and social inclusion in the context of the transformation to sustainable development. And I want to start by defining sustainable development, which is the globally agreed, though not honored, idea that all societies should be aiming at a triple bottom line: economic improvement, social justice and inclusion, and environmental sustainability. We've heard an earful about that during COP26 in the last 2 weeks, with all of the challenges, many pronouncements, many announcements, many pledges, a lot of consternation, and a lot of feeling. I think if I could summarize, that we're not quite there yet on the trajectory to achieve sustainable development. We are still far off the mark on the energy transformation and the land use transformation that we need even for basic climate safety. And that environmental failure is in a context of societies with widening inequalities of income, wealth, access, power. We have a lot of problems. So what to do? Well, I think a good starting point is to note what is social inclusion in this whole constellation of objectives. In fact, that has been defined already more than 70 years ago in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which defined what it means to be part of society with human dignity. That everybody should have access to decent work, to education, to healthcare, to social protection, irrespective of ethnicity, religion, race, gender. In other words, these are rights of every person on the planet. They are part and core to human dignity. And I think it's fair to say that a few places, especially in Europe, I would say, and especially in Northern Europe, are pretty close to this standard of social inclusion, where almost everybody has access to healthcare, to decent education, to childcare, to family support, to social protection, to paid leave, vacation time. In other words, there really is social inclusion. But for most of the world, this remains still a distant hope. And in the United States, we're in the midst of that battle actually these days. And maybe that's one way that I can summarize the challenge. In the United States, tens of millions of people do not have access to healthcare. They cannot afford education. There is no pre-K for their children. College costs are way out of range for these households. People are hungry. People are hurting. There is no guaranteed paid leave. There is no guaranteed sick leave. There is no guaranteed childcare support for poor households where parents want to work, but they have no safe way for their children to be in safe care if they're away, if the parents are away from the home. So even a rich country like the United States lacks these basic attributes of social inclusion. Now, President Biden has put on the table the Build Back Better set of programs, which includes many of those features: cutting healthcare costs, expanded coverage, support for poor families, guaranteed pre-K, guaranteed, used to be, before it was stripped out of the legislation, guaranteed 2 years for community college tuition, something that is normal in other parts of the high-income world. Well, look at the battle that we're in right now. These are all, I would say, commonplaces from the point of view of Northern Europe. Every one of these programs or standards is already achieved, but in the United States, not for tens of millions of households. But we can't get it through Congress because it costs some money, and the rich in the United States and the corporate lobbies are opposing any increases of taxes on wealthy individuals, taxes on the billionaires, increased taxes on the corporations. And so we can talk all we want about social inclusion, but if one lives in a plutocratic government, as the United States is, if one lives with the high and growing inequalities of wealth, income, and political power, and if the rich act with impunity and can amass even fortunes of tens or hundreds of billions of dollars and not pay taxes along the way, well, then you can't have social inclusion. So I'm sure we're going to hear by others a lot about how companies can be more responsible and how the private sector with enlightened ESG investing principles, environmental, social, and governance principles can make a difference. And no doubt some of that is true. But I would say that there is no path to decent work and to social inclusion if it doesn't include a framework of public policy that ensures the basic economic rights that were recognized in the Universal Declaration 73 years ago: the right to health, to education, to social protection, as absolute basic standards for society. And we can see these are affordable. And fortunately, there are many societies in which all of those standards and more already exist. What I'm saying is not only a commonplace, but it would seemingly be weird in Norway or Denmark or Sweden or Germany or the Netherlands. But the battle is in countries like the United States with these libertarian, let the rich keep anything they want, let politics be oriented towards the rich philosophy. That means that even if you achieve great income and wealth, as in the United States, it does not ensure social inclusion. The challenges will get worse in the future because technology will continue to replace jobs, will continue to limit opportunities for those who do not have a college education. And that means working class families that cannot afford a college education for their children. We're going to have continuing divides. So today we have Elon Musk with $300 billion of personal wealth, and half of America essentially without financial wealth at all. And these divisions are going to widen unless we get a grip on public policy to ensure that there is inclusion. If we look at this challenge more broadly at the global scale, not only do we need financial transfers and financial mechanisms within a country like the United States or within the scope of the European Union, we know that these goals, which are now enshrined in the Sustainable Development Goals, SDG 3, health for all, SDG 4, education for all, these are absolutely unachievable unless there is also a financial system globally that enables the poor countries to have the fiscal space to be able to provide these basic services. So let me conclude here by saying that social inclusion and decent work is not merely a matter of what happens in an enterprise, though that's very important, and worker representation is extremely crucial. It's also a matter of what happens in society at large, in broad public policy, in budgets. And that's where the struggle is. We must tax wealth and tax the rich and tax the companies so that we have the chance to ensure social inclusion for all. Thank you very much for letting me share these very brief thoughts with you today, and all best wishes on the conference.